Allah. He loves Allah, she loves Allah, we all love Allah. He gave us the air that we breathe every day. He gave us Islam to stay on the right way. I love Allah, he loves Allah, she loves Allah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My name is Ahlam Abdissalam. Welcome to Young Storytellers. Today I am going to be telling you the story of the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Do you want to hear the story of the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam?
Yes.
The Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam was born to a family of non-believers. His father was an idol maker. The Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam did not worship the idols. He believed that there was another God somewhere. He told his father many times to stop making idols. There was a big temple in the middle of the village where they used to keep all the idols. One day there was a big ceremony and everyone had gone for the ceremony. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam did not go for the ceremony. So he stayed and waited till midnight. Then he took out an axe and broke down all the idols. The next day, when the people of the village came back, as usual, they went to the temple to worship the idols, but they did not find it. Instead, they found all the idols broken down. When the people of the village returned, what did they find in the temple? Inara?
They found it broken.
MashaAllah, they found all the idols broken down. Then they asked the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, who broke down all our idols? The Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam said, I don't know, ask the biggest idol. The people of the village of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam said, we cannot ask the idol which cannot even talk or walk or hear us. Then the Prophet Ibrahim told them, why do you worship something which cannot talk, walk or hear you? What did the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam tell to the people? Ayana?
Why do you worship things that do not talk and walk?
MashaAllah, that is correct. Why do you worship things that do not even talk or walk? Then the Prophet Ibrahim went around to look for the real God. He found people worshipping the sun, which only stays during the day and goes down at night. Then he saw some people worshipping the moon, which goes down during the day and stays up only during the night. The people of the village were still very angry at him. Then they decided to throw him in the fire. But the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam did not catch any fire or even burn down. He just stood up and walked out of the fire the same way he was when he was thrown in. The people were very surprised but still angry, so they tossed him out of the village. The Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam found a wife which was called Sarah. The wife of the Prophet Ibrahim was a very kind woman. She used to believe in the one and only God, Allah. One day they did not have any kids, so they decided to go and travel. Then they found a woman who was named Hajara, who was their maiden. So they walked until they reached the place. The king tried. Hajar was a very beautiful woman. The king of that place tried to touch her, but his hand became as stiff as stone. He tried that many times, but his hand still stayed as stiff as stone. Then he prayed to Hajara, please recite a verse which can turn my hand back to normal. What did the king tell Hajara? Mumtaz?
He asked Hajara if she could read the verses so that his hand would turn back to normal.
MashaAllah, that is correct. Then Sarah said, this woman believes in Allah, so you should marry her. They got married and gave birth to a son who was called Ismail. Then one day the Prophet Ibrahim had a dream about leaving his wife and his son in a desert. He knew that Allah had brought that dream to him. So they went to a desert where they were left there. Then Sarah, wife of the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, said, why are you leaving us here? She asked, is this in the will of Allah? The Prophet Ibrahim nodded and went away. What did the Prophet Ibrahim's wife ask? Sagai?
Because the wife of the Prophet Ibrahim did not know what was happening.
MashaAllah, that is the correct answer. After a few days, everything was finished, so they had nothing to eat. Then Allah sent down an angel which dug up a piece of the land and water flowed. They drank and ate. Then one day, travelers started coming. They started coming to the place. They asked Hajara, "Can we live here?" Hajara said, "Yes, this is not my place. I was just left here by my husband with my young son called Ismail." So the people started living there. They built a very beautiful place there, which was called Bakka, and now we call it Makkah. Then one day, the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam had another dream about slaughtering his son. He called his son and told him, "Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me a dream about slaughtering you. Do you accept me to slaughter you?" The Prophet Ismail alayhi salam said yes, because he believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala very much. When the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam was about to slaughter his son, then Allah brought down a sheep and said, "Please do not slaughter your son. You have proven your loyalty to me. Now slaughter the sheep." He slaughtered the sheep and he had proven the loyalty to Allah. After a few days, they decided to build the Kaaba. They built the Kaaba, and they had some writing on top of it in gold. There was some writing in gold on top of it. Then, when they finished building the Kaaba, they looked for one piece of stone where they would place it in the middle of the Kaaba. Then Allah sent down a black stone. Then the Prophet Ismail put it in the middle of the Kaaba. That is the end of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam's story. Now I will introduce my sister Mumtaz to read for us verses related to the story of the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam.
My name is Mumtaz Ahmed, and I'm going to recite some verses related to the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. I hope you will enjoy it. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وهذا ذكر مبارك أنزله فأنتم له منكرون ولقد آتينا إبراهيم رشده من قبل وكنا به عالمين إذ قال لأبيه وقومه ما هذه التماثيل التي أنتم لها عاكفون قالوا وجدنا آباءنا لها عابدين قال لقد كنتم أنتم وآباؤكم في ضلال مبين قالوا وجئتنا بالحق أم أنت من اللاعبين قال بل ربكم رب السماوات والأرض الذي فطرهن وأنا على ذلك من الشاهدين وتالله لا آكدين أصنامكم بعد أن تولوا مدبرين. Thank you so much for all listening, and I will now invite Rayana to tell us her beautiful story.
Today I'm going to be reading a story called Insha'Allah. Do you guys know what Insha'Allah means?
Yes.
What does Insha'Allah mean? Yes, Ahlam.
If Allah wills.
MashaAllah. Insha'Allah means if Allah wills. One dull rainy day, Layla was sitting on the sofa doing nothing. When her dad came in, Layla said, "Dad, I'm so bored, there's nothing to do, and even the TV isn't working." He said, "Let's think of something good and useful to do. You know, time is very precious, and we should spend our time doing meaningful stuff, things rather than wasting it on watching TV." What did Layla's dad tell her? Yes, Saban.
Layla's dad told her that you should not waste your time doing meaningless things. Instead, you should do meaningful things.
MashaAllah, that's correct. He sat down next to her and said, Layla, how many surahs have you learned from the Quran? Only 5. But what does that have to do with this? Layla asked. How many surahs have you guys memorized? Sagal? 20. MashaAllah. Sagal has memorized 20. Layla, if you learn 5 more surahs, then I promise I'll buy you the new walking and talking doll from the toy shop, inshallah. Layla got excited and gave him a big hug and ran off to find her copy of the Quran. The next day in school, when it was playtime, Layla and her friends Dana and Yasmin were sitting on the grass, waiting for their turn on the swing. What was Layla's friend's name? Yes, Sarah?
Dana and Yasmin.
MashaAllah, Dana and Yasmin. Layla remembered her dad's words and happily said, "Guess what my dad said?" "What?" asked the girls. "He said that when I learn 5 more surahs, he will buy me the new walking and talking doll from the toy shop." Yasmin smiled really wide and exclaimed, "Layla, you are so lucky. You'll be the first in the whole class to have that doll. Everyone wants to buy it." What did Yasmin tell Layla? Yes.
Yasmin told Layla that she's so lucky that everyone in the class wants to buy that doll.
MashaAllah, Yasmin told Layla that everyone in the class wanted to buy that doll. But Dana wasn't smiling. She said, "Layla, you didn't say inshallah. You should always say inshallah. If you don't say inshallah, maybe you won't get the doll." "Why not? My dad promised me," said Layla. Yasmin said, "Do you know what inshallah means? It means if Allah wills, and we all know that everything happens only if Allah wants it to." What did Dana tell Layla? Yes, Ahlam.
That you should always say inshallah, or maybe the thing that you are wishing for will not happen.
MashaAllah, that's correct. Don't worry, I don't need to say inshallah this time. My dad never breaks his promises, said Layla confidently. Is it good for a Muslim to break their promises?
No.
Do you guys break your promises?
No.
MashaAllah. For a whole week, Layla spent her spare time learning 5 new surahs. And on Friday, she ran down for breakfast with a huge smile on her face. "Daddy, Daddy, I learned all the surahs you asked me to learn." When she recited all the surahs without any mistake, her dad said, "Well done, Layla. I'm very happy, and so is Allah. Inshallah, I will take you to the toy shop tomorrow after the Dhuhr prayer. Now hurry up, you will be late for school." Have you guys ever been late for school?
No.
I have. In the playground, later in that day, Layla told Yasmin and Dana what her dad had promised, and when it was her turn on the swings, she excitedly jumped on and started swinging as high as she could. Everyone was cheering for her. She was going so fast and so high. Have you guys ever swum so high?
Yes.
But then suddenly, Layla screamed really loud and fell off the swing with a huge bump. She lay there crying. Her knees were bleeding and she could not move her arm. Dana ran to her to get the nurse, and Yasmin rushed to her injured friend. What did Dana do? Yes, Sarah?
She hurried to call the nurse.
MashaAllah, Dana hurried and called the nurse. The nurse called Layla's mom and told her that Layla's arm looked broken and Layla was taken to the hospital. The next week, when Layla's arm was better, she returned to school. On the bus, Dana asked her, "How is your arm? You must have had a good time playing with your doll." Layla replied, I couldn't go to the toy shop because all weekend I was in the hospital. But inshallah, my arm is getting better and I will go next week, inshallah. Dana smiled. I'm sure you will never forget to say inshallah in the future. What have you learned from the story? Yes, Ahlam.
You should always say inshallah.
Yes, you should always say inshallah. Anyone else learn something different? Yes, Sagar.
That maybe if you don't say inshallah, Allah will get angry and He won't agree to that.
MashaAllah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much, my sister Rayana. Your story was very interesting and I learned a lot. My name is Sagal Ahmed and I will be telling you the story of the Quran. One day I was sitting next to the window wondering what I should do on this day. My mother walked in after doing all the chores and asked me, what will you do on this day? I told her, I don't know, I'm thinking about it. She told me, what do you like the most? And I said, I like the Quran. She told me I should go and pick up the Quran and read because the time that the Quran was revealed, people loved it and read it more often. I went and started reading the Quran. Every morning I would go and read the Quran. The Quran was my favorite thing. When I started reading the Quran more often, I had memorized so little surahs, and then I started memorizing a lot and more and more and more. Every morning I would take the Quran and read it. My mother liked the way I loved the Quran, and she asked me, after school, she asked me, oh my dear daughter, how many surahs have you memorized? I told her, nearly the whole Quran. How many surahs have you guys memorized? MashaAllah, Ahlam has memorized 87 surahs. And all of you should love the Quran as much as I do. My mother had told me to go to a Quran reading contest. When I went to that contest, I read so well. I got first prize. My mother was so happy, and Allah loved me. Allah loved me more than He loved me when I was reading the Quran. That is the end of my story. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Now it's time for lessons and values. My name is Sarah Saeed, and I've learned a lot from the stories that the others have said. What have you learned from Ahlam's story? Yes, Rana?
That Muslims should not worship idols.
And how many times do we pray in one day? Yes, Inanna?
5.
MashaAllah, that's correct. Is it good to worship idols? That's true, you should not worship idols. What is the name of the one and only God? Yes, Mumtaz?
Allah.
MashaAllah. The answer is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's correct. What was the name of Ibrahim's father? Yes, Ahlam?
Azar.
Good. That's correct. What was the name of Ibrahim's son? Yes, Sagal?
Ismail and Ishaq.
That's true. What was the first name of Ibrahim's wife? Yes, Ahlam?
Sarah.
That's correct. And what was the name of the second wife? Yes, Sagal?
Hajar.
That's true. How can you practice from Ahlam's story? Yes, Mumtaz?
You should pray 5 times a day.
What else? Yes, Ahlam?
You should help giving out charities to the orphanage so that people can also live happily, and you teach people the religion of Islam the same way Prophet Ibrahim was teaching the people from his tribe.
MashaAllah. Who else? Yes, Rayana?
We should only worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
What else? Yes, Sagal?
That you should believe in the Prophet and Allah.
MashaAllah, that's correct.
What have you learned from Rayana's story? Yes, Ahlam.
It is good to say Insha'Allah.
Very correct. Anyone else wants to try? Yes, Sarah.
That if you want something very much, you have to say Insha'Allah.
Very correct. What was Layla's problem when she said that I'm gonna get a new doll? Yes, Rayana.
She didn't say inshallah.
Very correct.
What have you learned from Sagal's story? Yes, Sagal?
That the Quran is the most important thing in the whole universe.
That's correct. Now it's fun time. Are you ready to play?
Yes!
Now it's fun time. We are going to be playing a game called separation. There are four colored beans: green, yellow, blue, and red. You put them in their own separate tins. If you mix up the colors, you lose. And if you finish all the rubber bands in all the tins, you win. The person with most of the beads in all the tins will win. And this is team red and that is team blue. And we will win.
No, we will win.
2, 1, go!
I love Allah, He loves Allah, she loves Allah, we all love Allah. He gave us the air that we breathe every day. He gave us Islam to stay on the right way. I love Allah, He loves Allah, she loves Allah, we all love Allah. The animals love Allah, the insects love Allah, the plants love Allah, the moon loves Allah, the fish love Allah, the mountains love Allah, the sun loves Allah, and the stars love Allah. I love Allah, He loves Allah, she loves Allah.
Hey!
That was a very exciting and interesting game. Congratulations, my sister Rayana and your team for winning this game. What have you learned from the game we have just played right now?
The jealousy is not good in Islam.
I have learned that even though we lost today, everyone is a winner in the future. And now, my sister Rayana, can you tell me your secret in winning?
My secret is that when the cups were there, I used one color. I use both of my hands, taking one color at a time, or two. And then when it reached the last color, I grab them all and throw them in the cup.
That's a very good secret. That is the end of today's show. I hope you will join us next time. Ma'as-salam.
I love Allah, He loves Allah, she loves Allah, we all love Allah. He gave us the air that we breathe every day. He gave us Islam to stay on the right way. I love Allah, He loves Allah.